This will be good. Everybody ready?
You bet. You bet.
Good morning. I'd like to call the Tuesday, July 19 Planning and Policy Committee to order. First on the agenda will be public comment. Anyone in the audience for public comment? We ask if you state your name and address and limit your time to 3 minutes, please.
Hi, my name is Teresa White, Robinson Township. This is the last time, hopefully, I talk about my granddaughter, Haley. I'm a grandma of a severely special needs granddaughter who's 23, has been in the system, mental health for her whole life. She's been on the Harbor House waiting list for 5 years to get a bed there. 2 years, she's going to age out of Ottawa Area Center. If we don't have anything to work with after that, we've got nowhere to go here in this county. She's a lifelong resident here. So I'm asking you to reconsider your voting on this bill that Rep. Whiteford and Senator Shirkey have been working together to try to rework this system so that it works better for the clients of the county. I took it as and expand this service out to the private sector because maybe we can get some more ideas here. I'm asking you to support them. And Lynn, every time she comes up of mental health, says they're closing beds now because of a staff shortage. I'm thinking, will it take 2 months for them to fix this staff shortage? 2 years? Maybe never. So this is just where we live, and this is real life for us. Thank you.
Thank you, Teresa. Next, on the consent items, there will be the approval of today's agenda and approval of the minutes of the June 21, 22 planning and policy. Can I get a motion for that, please?
So moved. Second that.
We have a motion and support. Any additional discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same sign. Motion passes. Under action items, the first one is the open space management plan update, and the motion is to approve and forward to the Board of Commissioners revisions to the 1992 open space management plan.
Supported.
Good morning.
Good morning.
So in the 20s and 40s, the county received a lot of surplus property from the state. So that was back when we had the Dust Bowl. And so they acquired quite a bit of open space land. So then after the Parks Commission was formed in 1987, they evaluated all of that open space land and property that had either a recreational purpose or potential or natural resources value. They came up with this open space plan in 92 and then transferred some of those properties to the parks to manage as countywide open spaces, and some of the smaller, less desirable lands they sold. So last year, we worked with the administration to acquire an adjacent parcel to this property here. So it was about 66 acres. And as we were then working with Corporation Council, we wanted to update this and then use this as the mechanism to have the parks manage that 66 acres. So kind of 2 steps. So in this document, the revised document, it lays out how we'll manage the property, as well as the Board of Commissioners' ability to withdraw some of those acres to use. So like the Family Justice Center was originally part of open space land and is now being used for a county facility. So.
Questions for Jason?
Hey, Jason, a couple of questions. What is the value? And I think that there's close to 1,000 maybe open space acres in the county, or something like that, if you add them all up. Right, as I looked at that. What is the value of that to the residents of Ottawa County? And I read that a lot of those acres are not really inclined for development or for ecological reasons. Seems to be the main reason why we have those. Is that correct?
Well, I think in some cases, Parks and Green Space provide a huge value to our residents. And as we continue to see the population grow, these properties, one of the reasons we want to update this, and then we'll look at, so this policy and the acres included here are the Board of Commissioners acquired properties. There are also properties that Ottawa County Parks Commission acquired and have labeled as open space. So there's more. But so it's less developed. So you can take your dog off leash. You can go and in a lot of cases, we have different forms of hunting allowed at these parks. And I think as we look at the population growth, there might be a time where we have to say, well, we can't really manage these anymore as open spaces, and we might need more developed trails, signage, infrastructure. But as we kind of evaluate our immediate future, this is a tool to help us establish, we have limited signage, limited developed trails, limited trash cans and benches. And then, I think there's some that have, housing developments growing up around them. And then as we hear back from the residents and have surveys, we might have to adjust how we do that. So.
And I'm someone who visits the park at least once a week. I don't visit the open spaces because I don't have a dog to let loose, and I'm not a hunter. I just wondered how much value it brings compared to parks that you actually are able to go and hike on and able to picnic in.
And I think so. We label them, but they get lots of use on a daily basis. So especially during the pandemic, we saw people flock to our open spaces much more so than ever before. So there's some in the western part of the county that have some amazing dunes. And so there's lots of great natural resources and parks. They're just less developed. So you can go and hike if you like hiking, and it's a great experience. So.
Are we planning on acquiring more open space acres as time goes by, or are we maxed out, or?
Well, so what this does is it establishes the tool between the Board of Commissioners and the Parks Commission in order to do that. And if we found property that, in the case of the adjacent property, the Parks Commission didn't have the funding to acquire it, but the Board of Commissioners saw the value in it and worked with the administration to make sure we protected that property. So we don't necessarily have any identified in the near future, but as we look, in the next 30 years.
We're actively searching for open space.
We're not active in search.
Right.
No.
I mean, sometimes opportunities come up and we'll have to evaluate that as they come up, but
Yeah.
it's not like we have teams of staff going out there searching for open space. We're not active.
And I asked that question because I know I spoke to one township board where they raised the question when it comes to a decision of acquiring more park land compared to leaving that space available for agricultural purposes or for development purposes. How do we balance that out, basically?
Well, and I think most of the properties that we acquire have either, for the most part, are the highest natural resources value. And then secondarily, the owners of that property would, in most cases, want to see it become a park or park property. So because we, for the most part, use grants that take almost 2 years in some cases to secure. So that seller has to be a willing seller who is motivated to see it become a park. So I think as we balance, our open space and recreational lands have actually gone down along with agricultural value when you look at the number of residents. And as you look at our population growth and that we're still the fastest growing county in the state of Michigan, I think we look at how do we buffer existing parks and continue to protect the open spaces that we have. So those will become much more valuable as our population grows and our residents.
And Frank, I guess I hear a different side too. Parks said they were supposed to
be up to 7,000. We're over 7,000 right now. And they said, where is that gonna stop? You know, are we gonna have Ottawa County be one big park? And where's the money? Because they're saying they're, as soon as the parks take over private land, we're losing revenue off of that. So they have concern. I have another group that wants to have more hunting and fishing and more rights on doing that. So I'm trying to balance both sides of it. So would I vote for more property? I don't know. Depends on what it is. So I'm leaving that option open all the time. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think we're, probably more on the tail end of property acquisition as a whole, in our whole process. I mean, there may be parcels that come up where we want to connect pathways together, something like that. But I think we've talked about it, that over the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, we're going to be probably more in maintenance mode of existing infrastructure than we are of acquiring more property and expanding a system.
Any additional questions?
And so Al, I think the one thing that as we talk about the existing open spaces for hunting, that's where we have to work together with our conservation agencies to protect those and really look at land use planning so that neighborhoods aren't building up right around it, because that's then what becomes the pressure that they want to ride bikes and walk strollers in those
And
parklands.
then the hunters get beat up
Yep.
for hunting on something too
Yep.
close to my house and everything.
Yep.
They don't want that either. So.
Yep. So it's that balance of, as our population grows, how do we manage that? So.
We have a motion and support. All those in favor say aye.
I
Opposed, the same sign. Motion passes. Next item is the resolution to designate 66 acres to parks open space, and the motion is to approve and forward to the Board of Commissioners the resolution authorizing the designation of 66 acres to the Pigeon River Forest open space.
supported.
We have a motion and support. Jason, you want to add anything to that one?
So this is the motion to actually incorporate that. And I had worked with Doug Manesson on coming up with the resolution to incorporate it into our open space.
So you came up with the name. This is the new property, part of the new property that we bought, 66. Okay, how many pigeons are on that property you said right now?
So
42.
I don't know where the Pigeon Creek, it's Pigeon Creek. Where did that name come up?
Well, I just look at
Came from
pigeon.
the pigeons. They
Yeah.
used to be there.
Yeah, they used to be there. And is that a woods or is that a forest?
So I would call it a woods. I wouldn't call it a forest, but yeah.
I'm just giving you a hard time,
Yeah.
Jason.
Any additional questions on this motion? Seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, motion passes. Next will be our legislative updates.
I mean, not a lot from, so I'm not gonna repeat what Bob said, but not a lot from there. Just a comment from Teresa. We are opposed to those bills. I don't think those bills would do anything to help her particular situation. It would just essentially send the Medicaid revenue to private health insurance companies that we feel will cherry pick and try to provide services that cost the least amount of money so that they can make the most amount of money. And when you get into more difficult cases, I don't think that this will help in any way. So I understand what she's saying, and that's a very difficult situation, but I just don't see how these bills would help that. And I think it would eliminate local control of how we provide mental health services. So.
And the legislative is not working on trying to increase the pay for some of these, I want to say group home workers and stuff like that. That's not even on their radar, and that should be on the radar, because some of these group homes close, right, because they can't afford to pay the people and they can't get them to work at that lower pay. So and it kind of frustrates me a little bit that the legislator doesn't even want to talk about this and get a plan going, and saying how we're gonna address that. So,
And I don't have.
and I have to agree with Teresa and her daughter. Yeah, it's a struggle for her to in there. And I want her to know that the mental health is very aware of her situation and her problem. But anyway,
And I don't have the faith that a for-profit private health insurance company is going to do anything but look out for their own bottom
Yeah.
line.
Well, so at this point, John, but those particular bills, they have passed the House or passed the Senate, and now they're in
No.
conference
No.
over it or not?
No, they haven't passed anything yet. They
Okay,
have
so in
not-
either
No.
chamber.
And as Bob DeVries said, I mean, you think, wow, it's mid-July, we've got 4.5 months, but there are relatively very few legislative days left.
Right.
That wouldn't surprise me if many of these bills, maybe possibly including this, would be dealt with, unfortunately, during the lame duck
Yep,
period. After
exactly.
the November election, we see a lot of,
both bills are quite a bit different. In mental health, it's been endorsed, but did say that Mary Whiteford's bill was probably something that they could get to massage and change a little bit.
and we've indicated we've indicated to Representative Whiteford what some of our concerns, not just ours, but other CMH's concerns, and we're willing to work on maybe making some amendments to that.
Yep, so we're looking at, but John, you're right, most of it's gonna happen in lame duck.
Yes.
Karen, I wonder if you could give me just a little history or education on the financing of community mental health when it comes to county dollars, as to how much the county is providing and contributing, and what percentage of our budget is that?
So I don't know if I can explain the history of it. It goes back late 1990s, I believe, when they moved to a capitated system. I think it had, for lack of a better word, it locked in what the county contribution, the local dollars. I can tell you that as part of the general fund, there's a $476,500 contribution that we make annually as part of our local contribution to mental health. And that is the county dollars. In addition, there's the millage that supports the operation that the voters approved. That is, we account for that in a separate fund because it's restricted to the millage use, and that's it's been reduced a little bit through the Headley rollback, but I think it started at about 0.3 mils. And that's probably, you're looking at, I want to say $4 million.
How much in Medicaid revenue does CMH? I mean, it's substantial.
Oh, the Medicaid revenue is by far
Yeah.
the most substantial source of revenue.
Right.
And I believe it's gone up significantly in the last couple of years. So I don't know that I can quote it, but
Tens of millions.
Oh, yeah.
oh yeah, it's north of 30 million, between 30 and 40 million.
Yeah.
I mean,
For
it's
Ottawa County alone?
For
you mean?
Ottawa, for Medicaid, right?
Yeah.
That the
Just
support
to
of
give you
that
perspective of
operation.
how that,
Right.
our general fund contribution pales in comparison.
Yes,
That's
and
where I
then
was
there's
going.
the other main funding source is the state general fund, and I cannot quote that amount, but it's not as significant as Medicaid. Medicaid is by far the most significant source of revenue supporting the operation.
So if these bills that are in the House and in the Senate, if they were to come to an agreement, would we continue to make that 500,000, almost 500,000 contribution after that, seeing that now it becomes more of a private affair than it being run by?
I don't know exactly how that would work. I'm not sure that that's outlined in detail in the bill. And as you say that, I would say you're making me think about, but I think one of the more significant questions is we have our closed defined benefit plan and we have an unfunded liability for benefits. And community mental health is a separate division as part of our program. And I wonder how that would be managed if you were going to privatize.
Yeah.
I think there's probably a few details not covered in the bill.
Okay, yeah, because I also wonder about the millage that's targeted for community mental health. What would happen to that and what are the legal indications of that or implications of that?
I think the millage is not, it's to complement, it's not to supplant. So we cannot use it for things that are Medicaid eligible. So it's not intended to replace Medicaid.
Right.
That was part of the language when it was passed. So I think the millage would still be an eligible, depending on what the program
Right.
here, what services the county wish to provide.
But the county commissioners
The county
vote on that millage renewal every year.
every year.
So if things change drastically, the commissioners say, okay, we're pulling that millage, but
In June, we just sent the millage that would be billed, and the bill to go out in December. And so they fund the 23 fiscal year budget.
Our intergovernmental revenue was about 45.4 million in this year's budget. That's basically
Medicaid.
Medicaid. So 45.4 million, and so that our general fund contribution's a heck of a lot less. And the millage looks like 3.9 million, almost 4 million from millage revenue.
So this morning's Sentinel had a front page article about Allegan County, their new CMH program with I forget what the name of it is, but they also reference the fact that Muskegon County and Kent County were doing kind of the same thing with programs for community mental health. How does that differ from what we're doing?
I don't know, I'd have to read the article too.
I don't,
Yeah, Frank?
No, I haven't read it yet. My paper wasn't in the mailbox yet.
Okay, okay. Yeah, it
And
was on the front page this morning of the Sentinel. So maybe that's a good thing for you to look at between now and our
Monday
meeting next
Monday
week,
afternoon,
Tuesday.
next week, Monday afternoon, we got mental health board meeting. so-
Okay, you might,
And there's some other subjects that we're gonna talk about too, so.
and maybe you could bring that up. Are you gonna be here next week, Tuesday? John? Okay, maybe you could bring it up in your report.
yeah, I'll look at that article about Allegan, Muskegon County and CMH and see what,
Yeah.
because I don't know how they,
It's Kent County, Allegan County, and Muskegon County. So it's like the three counties that are surrounding us have these new CMH. That's the implication. It looks like. What's Ottawa County doing? It doesn't look good when you see that the surrounding counties have their new programs. Ottawa County is not referenced.
yeah, I don't, yeah.
Yeah.
I'll
I
read
can't
the-
answer that.
Okay. Anything else, John, with our legislative
No.
updates? If I could ask you, last week when Bob was here, he mentioned several $1 million in the state budget that was going to be allocated to Lakeshore Advantage. Did I hear that right?
Yeah, for a business incubator
Yeah.
program.
Now, is that into additional, I believe they get their hands in one of the buckets, right?
Yeah, they are our bucket manager for our business stabilization bucket.
Okay,
So
all right. So these are two different funds for two different reasons.
that is correct.
Okay. Yes. Okay, good. All right. Next is our second opportunity for public comment.
Teresa White, Robinson Township. I'm a private citizen out here. If I was in the market for health insurance for myself, I would look to private health insurance because you can hold them accountable. If they don't do a good job for you, you can just take your dollars somewhere else. When you get stuck in the government healthcare system, which is where my granddaughter is, I'm speaking for her because she doesn't have a voice. She's nonverbal. So nobody's accountable for anything because that's all you got to go with. So that's just me.
Thank you, Teresa. Before Germany, does anybody have anything else that you talk about this morning? Seeing none, look for a motion to adjourn. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
We're adjourned. Thank you.